take 2 minutes and let's do the Adam's prayer. Close your eyes, clear your hands, look up, feel yourself. Feel yourself sitting in that chair, your back leaning against it. Feel touching the floor. Feel being made of elements of this earth and being a part of it, and just be grateful that you're alive, that you're breathing, that right now in this moment life is good. Now with your eyes closed, look up and see Jesus. Visualize him however you see him. Look at his eyes and just maintain the eye contact. Dear Jesus, thank you. Thank you for this life, for the beauty of it, for all of the good things you're sending our way, for all of the superficially bad things that are actually helping us see you and us, ourselves, in a more clear picture. And today help us learn more about silence before you and engaging with you without words, so we may even more deep. How many thoughts crossed your mind? A lot. One? Not that much? A few? So what do you do with them when they come across? I had probably half a dozen or so. But what do you guys do with them? So when you practice this prayer of presence, when you practice this silence with God, when you practice just awareness of your life, I have a comment to that, and I'll share. Okay.
So I was trying to picture looking Jesus in the eye, but then I'm like, what do his eyes look like? What do his face? And then it's like, and then you're like your eraser board, and then it's back to that, and then it's like back to my seeing the back of my eyelids, and then it's like okay, trying to focus on the eyes, and Okay, the beard, the mouth. No. Okay, wait. So that's kind of where my mind went.
You're going way too much into anthropomorphization of the whole experience.
What is it called? An incinerator, like little box. So anytime I don't like a thought, I just throw it in there.
Okay.
I imagine just throwing it into like a little pit of fire, so it just goes away. Yeah,
Oh,
it just dissolves. I'm just like,
Okay,
okay.
I have much rather.
Oh.
I have much rather. Yeah.
Years ago, I used to have a lot of like regrets, and so they would pass by, and I'll be like every, I don't know, 30 minutes. No, I say 30 minutes. Every few hours, I just be like, oh my gosh. And I started doing the practice of handing that regret to God. So any single thought that I have, I'm like, oh, that's yours, not mine. And ever since then, like I stopped having these regrets, like pass over me anymore. Like it's really rare for me to have a regret pass over, if it does ever.
Because it doesn't belong to you anymore.
It doesn't belong to me
Yeah.
anymore. And even like random thoughts, I'm like, oh, that's a fun thought. Here you go, Lord. I don't know what you're gonna do with that, but here you go.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
So I said like I had absolutely nothing. I was just like, hi.
And one interesting thing. So.
But that's kind of the first step where you get, at one point, you get to the point where you don't want to leave. Like it's really nice in here, in this silence, in the presence of the Lord. And you don't feel like wanting to go back to this, And then the next level that you hit is you are in that silence, but you're fully present and engaged. And you're like all of your senses are exemplified, but internally. I don't know, you'll get there. It's interesting. But what I want to say on the humming part. So when so Apple Watch has like a mindfulness app, and it takes you through 1 minute. It takes you through 6 breaths, where you breathe in, breathe out in 10 seconds, and it has like a little clicker and everything else. And what I discovered when I wanted to do 2 minutes of this prayer of presence, I would hum out. So like, breathe in my stomach. And really, you're right. Now when I think of it, like when I do that, like, yeah, there were no thoughts. Like nothing really came by. I was simply kind of being focused on presence, in His presence, and humming this out, and yeah.
Like do some of these like oh and humming so they can focus, and like not only that, but it actually helps relax a lot of the muscles so that it goes through much more easier, like pregnancy, birth. And then also vibrations. There's certain frequencies and vibrations that are really, really healthy for the body.
I have a quick question. Sorry, I don't want to get off topic, but before we continue, am I on the camera? Because I want to take these glasses off. I can't. I feel like I can't see. Like I'm like.
But you don't want to be seen.
But I don't want to be seen with my eyes all.
You are on the
Can I? If I scoot on that side, do I not come out? Like if I sit on that side?
camera. It's so wide.
No, but it doesn't catch that seat over there.
Yeah, like if I'm like over here.
Yeah,
Will
does it
not
capture
see
it?
my crazy eyes. Right now.
Sure.
No, like
No, like for real.
The
For
audience.
real. I don't want to be distracting the audience at home. Like, oh my god, what happened to her eyes? It's an allergic reaction. Okay.
She just gave everybody the explanation.
So is she
Well, so they
safe?
can know. Oh, that's what happened. Like,
So is
oh.
she safe, Josh?
Yeah.
Can like we
Okay,
move the
okay,
camera
great.
more this way?
Yeah, no,
Like
she's
towards
good.
us.
Yeah,
She's
good.
good.
Good for real, for real.
You're good for real.
Okay, great.
He's like,
Oh my gosh. Okay, now I feel like I don't trust you. For real, for real.
No. If he says you're not, you're not.
Okay. Okay.
No.
I was gonna say the way you said it was not very reassuring.
Yeah.
One cool thing about what you mentioned. So, a few months ago, I got a hand pen.
A what?
A hand pen.
Yeah, I was trying to mess with that last week.
I'm really getting a hang of it. No, hand pan. You know the metal drum, and I was really starting getting a hang of it, and it's really cool. So usually 90% of instruments, mainstream instruments, are tuned to 640 hertz, which is like a frequency of alertness, of kind of attention. And then, as you mentioned, like different frequencies affect differently. This one was tuned to 632 hertz, which is the frequency of relaxation. But it's seriously so crazy. Like, I would just kind of go through, because, you know, in order to learn, you go through the basics, and so on, you know. But like, and like when you listen to it, there's not much to hear. I mean, it sounds cool, but there's not much to hear. It's just kind of like the basics. But after like 10 minutes maybe, like I just feel it, like it just so calms down. Like we function on different frequencies depending on the mood we are in, depending on the emotional state we are in, depending on the physical state we are in. We function on different frequencies. And if you manage to hit the right frequency with the right like source, you can produce a whole lot of things. Like you can literally encourage people, you can make them cry, you can make them angry, you can, and they would use that in political campaigns, like these rallies and everything. They would literally, they would use loudspeakers to play a hum in the background, depending on how they want people to respond. Huh? No, it is, like all of it is manipulation, you know? It's like,
And just as much as like vibration can be healing, there's also vibration
destructive. Yeah.
Really crazy that wells can actually vibrate their vocal cords and make a sound.
Who?
Wells.
Oh, whales.
Ocean wells.
Yeah,
They can do such an intense vibration that if we were right next to them, they could actually destroy, like, we could explode from the inside.
Of the power of the reverberation. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's scary. But it's like, yeah.
They have a secret power we know nothing of.
We live in a mysterious world full of wonder that is constantly being kind of brushed out of our way, so we wouldn't see it, so we would focus on task at hand, which is make money, multiply, and die. But the moment you turn to this mystery of the wonder or wonders of this world, like so many things become insignificant. So many things that you would die for a year ago, today, they have no meaning whatsoever. And you feel so liberated. Anyways, okay, so let's start with, before we get into our, actually I'll wait for Sean to come back. And then we're gonna go, let me just get this. Where are you now? So I just wanted to promote a little bit the Indonesian trip. So it's happening in mid-September. Most likely kind of 15th to 30th of September. It's gonna take between 10 days and 2 weeks, not more than 10 days. We're gonna be, for a week, we're gonna be in one place, and then a few days that we're gonna be here and there doing stuff. I'm promoting it first because I want to invite you guys. Hello. First, because I want to invite you guys to join, if you're compelled and if you can. We usually like make these trips very uncommon. So like Josh can attest to that. The last trip was to Ukraine, so that was in the middle of the war over there. But the whole place. So I think this is the church where the evangelistic meeting is supposed to be at, and this is how the place is going to look like. Right now, at least, they say it's in the process of kind of getting it ready, but most of the stuff are going to look like exactly as they are over there. They have a school over there as well. They have a high school. And I'm not sure how many kids they have, but we are also supposed to, like, when we are not part of the evangelistic series, we're going to be working with the kids, with the teenage high school kids. I'm not really sure what this picture is, but it looks intimidating. It looks like backcountry. So, just kind of giving you heads up, this is happening in September. If you guys want to join us, plan accordingly. The airfare is going to be around $1,500. Most of our expenses over there are going to be covered by the, where is it? Here we go. So the goal is, so one thing, they have like a major evangelistic outreach project that is going to be happening before we get there, and it's going to continue happening after we leave. But for that week that we're going to be there, the actual presentation is going to be happening. They will have speakers. Pastor Gordon is going to be one of the speakers as well. And we're just inviting everybody to, learn about Jesus, about salvation, about like the basic stuff. I considering the fact that Gordon is going to be preaching, there is not going to be any prophecies. So it's supposed to be like in the afternoons, we're going to be engaged with visitors, with guests, with talking, sharing. Josh is going to translate. Google is going to translate. Yeah. And during the morning hours, they kind of want us to spend time with kids. They say that kids, I mean teenagers, high schoolers, because they say that usually that's the experience they had before, is like when usually when Americans or Westerns, when they come, they're like a very strong motivating force for the young minds. They just, I mean, they see it everywhere. They see it on TV. They see it like it's part of media. It's part of like coveted reality, So when they actually have people coming from that reality, you kind of, even without assertion, you can have a lot of influence because they're very subjective and open to it. So that's why they want, and they have in those high schools they have Adventist kids as well, but it's a mixture. They have other Christians. They even have Muslim kids. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be kind of fun experience. Last time it was the islands and the beach and fishing and all that kind of stuff. Now it's going to be a dense, developing world, urban environment. So yeah, if you're going, plan to bring the hand sanitizer. Jasmina has her all. She has the whole kit ready that she took to Ukraine and yeah. Okay, not the shower, but she has like that dry soap and those wipes. Like you wet them and then they kind of activate and whatnot, and you can actually use them. But yeah. Anyways, that's kind of the plan. So if you guys are interested and compelled to take part in it, plan it accordingly. All right. So, on the account of what we were talking about before, the prayer for the future is the last prayer of silence, or the last prayer of presence that I want us to talk about, because think about it. 90% of your prayers are tied to the future. Literally. That's it. Like occasionally you go back and you pray for forgiveness from the past, or you maybe pray for this moment to be awesome or whatever, but most of our prayers are tied to the future. And usually the longest part of our prayers is tied to the future. So essentially from the very beginning our prayers are disconnected from reality, ironically. But it's very interesting. Actually, no, did we talk about this already last time? Okay, give me a sec. No, this is the one that we're supposed to talk about. Yeah, we talked about prayer for the future last time, and I was about to get into it, and I'm looking at the no, this sounds familiar. This is the last one actually. Yeah, and I knew that that was not the last one, but I knew that today we were talking the last one, so maybe I'm. Anyways, prayer or getting out of God's way. This is a very interesting one. This is the best one. Do you know that you can actually prevent God from doing things with your prayers? Yeah. Literally stop him in his tracks. Now, that's what I would like us to think about today. Open Exodus chapter 14, because we're going to go a little bit through that chapter, because it's so embarrassing. Oh yeah. So, backdrop for the story. They left Egypt. The Pharaoh and his army are following them. Moses takes them to the seashore. And if you ever watched movies or if you ever watched documentaries, how it looks like, so in order to get to the seashores, you have to cross the hills, go down, and then you're at the seashore. So technically, all of them are swarmed at the seashore, and suddenly, tops of the hills just gets filled up with Egyptian army. And all they have to do is take the higher ground, slide down, and slaughter them all. So they feel stuck. They can't go back. They can't go forward. They're here. And this is a job for you. So let's see, where do we start? Let's start with verse 5 and read all the way. It's not really that much. All the way to verse 13. So actually from 5 to 12. On your time, count how many insults were tossed in there in God's face.
Wait, from the Israelites or from
Yes, no, Israelites.
Okay,
How many insults Israelites tossed in God's face? Oh, you're right. Actually, that's verse 10. My bad. Verse 10 to 13. If you were God, which of these would offend you the most? All of them. How many did you find? Morning. When you wake up, that's fine. Four, okay. Nine, geez, okay. All right. The rest of you, give me a number, something. 4. It's debatable. So yeah, it's debatable. Like some of the statements are like more like but still, it's like, why are you crying? Well, what? But here's the thing. So now think about all of these insults that you read. What are these insults referring to? What time are these insults referring to? No, what time? Yeah, Yeah, lack of faith, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But where do they stem from? What time do these insults stem from? I don't know if I'm asking it right.
Like when they were slaves? From that?
Like they were just taken out of Egypt
Here's my question. Okay. When you look at insult, what time in timeline?
Oh,
Like
okay.
present tense?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay.
Huh?
What time? Carry on.
Like present tense?
Which one is the present tense of this here?
Oh.
Past tense. Because they're
You
thinking.
see some past tense?
You see some future.
You see some future.
Those
Do you
are-
see any present tense?
Wasn't it?
Maybe
Bring us here
one.
to die.
Maybe we could argue one. Yeah, leave us alone. Let us be slaves to Egyptians.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Or like when they looked up in panic. That's oh, but that's not a phrase. But
Yeah. So one thing that you see is they see the present, and they see the present as I don't want to be here. Like we are supposed to be anywhere else but here. This is the worst possible place in my life to be at right now. That is the present time. Then they start recalling the past. Why didn't you leave us in Egypt? We had such a good time over there. Like it was so awesome serving Egyptians like that. That was so cool. Yeah, we had so much fun. And then they turn to present. They turn to the past. You brought us over here. We were all going to get slaughtered. You brought us to our demise over here. But the only thing that awaits us is end. That's it. We are gone. We are bust. We are done. There is no future for me. There is no hope for me. My past was much better, and right now I'm in a place that truly, deeply sucks, and I don't want to be here. And now, look at Moses. So Moses starts speaking in verse 13. And Moses said to the people, "Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today." Moses is talking all about the present time, all about today. That's all he is focused on. He's not focused on the past. He's not focused on the future. The only time where you see like an indication of the future, he will do this for you, but he will do it today. So you know it's happening. Like this is something that is in the making. It's unstoppable. It's happening. And then he tells them, the Lord will fight for you. And you only have to be silent. Like shut up already. What can you hear? What could Jews hear before Moses said that? All they heard was echoes of their own voices. The disgruntlement, the anger, fear, just escalates, especially when it's part of a group. This is so interesting. Like I remember that from one of the flights I took, and we boarded the plane. Then they got us all off the plane to put us on another plane, but then they put us back on the same plane. But the whole process was frontier. But the whole process probably took more than an hour, you know. And now it's so interesting. So we are going back, and everybody's commenting. Like everybody's commenting, you know, the obvious. Like, what the hell are these guys doing? They just took us off, and they're taking us back on and so on. And it's so interesting. So I was lucky to be I was just standing there. So I walked in pretty fast, and I just take my seat, and now people are passing by. And it's so crazy. So I don't know, 150 people maybe in an airplane. I probably heard, I don't even know how many times, the same thing said again and again and again by different people with different accents of different ages, but everybody kept repeating the same mantra. Oh my goodness, these guys don't know what they're doing. Look at this. I'm back to my seat. I was already here, blah, blah, and so on. Like everybody is fixated on ridiculousness of the whole situation, and then you feel the vibe. You know when you feel the vibe? It's like, nah, that kind of sense, you know? And we took off, we landed, everybody got to their destination. But what I realized at the moment is that the whole freaking airplane was in a bad mood, not because of what the airline did, but because they chose to. because I didn't. I was like, well, okay, fine. It was funny, you know? And I really didn't feel. I wasn't the only one. There were more people who didn't seem like too kind of distraught by it, but a lot of people were. And you realize like this 3-hour flight for a lot of people was sucked by their own device. Same thing is with Jews over here. Same thing with all of us in our everyday lives. The Lord will fight for you. Did the Lord fight for you this last week? Did you have an experience that the Lord fought for you this last week? Would somebody like to share?
I think the way that I've been seeing God fight for me lately is in showing me like He listens and He hears. Because lately, I was even talking to Victor about this the other day, that like for the past year and a half, I've been struggling a lot with trying to figure out, what I'm doing with my life, what I want to do, what I should be doing. Sometimes there's a lot of pressures of like, oh, I'm not where I should be, like all this society stuff that I sometimes even like put on myself. And lately I've just been feeling like, because I've been praying about it a lot, and sometimes I would get frustrated and be like, God, why aren't you like responding? Like I keep praying about this over and over and over, but I kept, I kept being hopeful that I'm like, okay, I know he's gonna answer at some point. Maybe I'm just not being patient enough. So lately I've just been, I guess, experiencing a lot of things. Like for example, when I spoke to you about this, but there was this lady that I got a call from not that long ago. She left a voicemail on my phone. I ended up calling her back. This lady was someone that I used to clean her house with my mom 14 years ago. And she kept my phone number all this time, called me, encouraged me, and like, I heard all these things that I'm like, I feel God had already been showing me and telling me, and maybe I just wasn't ready to hear. But when I specifically prayed and I told him, I'm like, God, just like send me someone, I need help, I need encouragement, send me someone that, especially specifically a woman. And he did that. And so it was like, oh, okay. Like I saw it happen in a big way that I'm like, oh, he's showing up, he hears me. I know things are gonna be okay. But I think it was also, and other things have happened, but I think it's like, man, like I think when I look back to the year and a half that I've been praying, there's other situations where I'm like, man, God was answering, but it's like I didn't even want to really believe or see it, because it's almost like I was so used to being in like kind of the Israel's mindset of like, oh, well, I was fine where I was at, struggling. I knew how that felt. I knew what that looked like. It's easy to be negative. So I was kind of stuck in that. So it was hard for me to see all these other really good things that were happening in my life. And so lately, now that I've been seeing other things, I'm just like, oh, okay. He's been there the whole time. I just wasn't opening my eyes to see. And now he showed up in bigger ways that I'm like, oh, I can't deny it. And I don't know. I just know he's there, and he's been there the whole time.
And you know what's amazing? In order for you for the things to start happening, I mean, you told me that story like in detail, but you said this prayer and you kind of let it go.
I think that day that I had it, I was like on the brink of like almost a mess. But I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pray and I'll go to sleep. I'll feel better in the morning. And then I completely forgot about the prayer. I was like, no, okay, it is what it is. Like I prayed and I felt a little bit better and I went to sleep. And then like a week and a half later, I get that voicemail. I end up like, and then it's like, oh, you were listening. You saw me struggling, and you do care. I do matter.
But you had to shut up.
Yeah, I did.
These are the rules of spiritual dynamics that you guys need to apply in your spiritual life, because it really matters. It's like if I don't want to burn my tongue, I'm going to give 2 minutes for that microwaved muffin to cool down. Ain't nobody got time for that. Woo, that burns. Yeah. Just like we know these rules, in the same ways, I need you guys to learn and start applying the rules of spiritual dynamics. So God says this. Actually, Moses says this. Lord will fight for you, but you have to shut up. So here is the reason why. First thing, I always discourage people from repeated prayers. Don't bug God with asking him every day for something. You asked him, say thank you, and let him do his thing. Be silent. Occasionally revisit it. Thank him. Lord, we talked about it. Thank you. I know you got it. I know it's happening. I know it's coming. Reassure yourself. Remind yourself, I know what my God does. I know he heard it. I know he's answering. I'll see it. I know it's going. I know it's coming. And then you live your spiritual experience in that manner. We're like, why is it not happening yet? That is the moment when you do what Israelites are doing over here. Or like, God, let me remind you. This is it. These are the same things. So anytime we go back to God with that, it's pretty much like nullifying whatever he did so far. And this is the biggest problem. So what did they want to do? Once they realized that Egyptians are about to charge, they have nowhere to go. They're freaking out. They don't believe Moses, that God is going to do things. They cry out, cry. And then the next thing is, I got to find my own solution. So their idea is, let's just make peace and go back to Egypt. Let's go back to slavery. Why? Because I feel very unsafe in this situation. It's a really bad situation for me, and I would rather go back to conventional solutions than supernatural ones. And that's why many prayers ring unanswered. Because you say, God, I need this, but I'll take over from here. It's kind of like that. The prayer was more FYI for God than an actual expectation that he's going to deliver. So the idea of getting out of God's way is this. It's idea of allowing. Did you ask him? Now live in the state of allowing him to do what he has to do. Let me share a story. And I sent an email. If you're getting church emails, you might have seen the email that I sent to the church. It's about Jasmina's dad. So as you know, it's been like a few months now. He was diagnosed with some form of leukemia. And it's manageable, it's treatable, it's still dangerous, and it could take a wrong turn anytime. So there are conventional solutions, the usual ones that are 50-50. It might save you, it might kill you before leukemia does, but those are your options. And in the beginning, when the diagnosis came and so on, and they're like, as Serbian parents as they didn't want to tell us anything. So we actually kind of heard it through different channels, and then Jasmina is calling them and yelling at them and so on. And but eventually, kind of all the beans are spilled and everything. And now we start sharing with them what I've been sharing with you for all of this time. The positive mentality, only the mindfulness, the presence, the Lord's ability, and so on. Nothing that he's a pastor, a retired pastor, but all of his life, that's what he is. It's not what he does, it's what he is. So and they have a very rich spiritual life. Even they're always at another church. They're taking books to there. They're helping people here. They're always. I mean, he retired like a decade ago, but they didn't really stop kind of being who they are, her parents. So this is what happens. Long story short, and it was very peculiar to us because it was kept happening kind of fast. Her dad kind of started accepting this idea of, whatever is happening, all of my life, things that were happening to our family, good or bad, they panned out amazing because we were serving God. And you know what? Let's see where God takes me. What's up with this? In the past 3 months, they literally at this point, he says like they're kind of waiting when he goes, because it's like outpatient, he goes, takes therapy, he spends a day there, then he goes back home. And he says every time they put him in a different room, and now they started deliberately putting him in different rooms so he can talk to people, so he can kind of encourage everybody. Last week, everything went wrong. Like everybody was late. The vehicle that's supposed to pick him up was late. The doctor was late. Something was wrong with this, whatever. So it's already like 4 p.m. He's still there, and he's like doing his thing. He's like chill and everything. He says one doctor told him like it's really good to have you as a positive spirit on this department, you know. And now, you know, he's tired. When he takes this therapy, it kind of knocks him down. So he's kind of like, okay, come on, what? No, you can't go now. They literally, he was like in that wheelchair. They're just gonna toss him in a random room. And he was there for about 2 hours. There were 2 ladies who were over there also taking treatments. Now one of them wants to get baptized, and the other one, who really never thought much about church, wants to go to church. But for him, he's now excited. He's like when we talk, he's all laughing. He's like, hey, you gotta hear this, you gotta hear that, you gotta. So he over there in Serbia, when you want to get a registration for your vehicle, the vehicle first needs to pass a test. It's like a mechanical test. So you have to pay a mechanic. They kind of check it out and so on. So and that was like after his therapy, they were supposed to take the car. And he doesn't even know the mechanic. Then he needs to go to DMV and so on. Long story short, something needed fixing. Mechanic, while they were kind of waiting, they got talking. Mechanic learns his story, hears about him. So the mechanic, he said, her dad says, like the yard was kind of full of vehicles that they were working on. So he goes to the junkyard to get the parts. He fixes it, and then he takes the car to DMV to confirm the VIN, and he brings everything back to him. And he's like, I don't know, I've never done this in my life. I really felt like I needed to do this for you, you know. But I'm just saying, like, this man is on the brink of dying. Like, any day they can say the leukemia just turned to like whatever the form is. And he has 3 months, and that's pretty much it. Nothing's going to help him. And all of us are aware of that. He is aware of that. But he's like, it's insignificant. It's insignificant. But before that, it was like, Lord, what is going on? Like, what are we going to do? How are we this? How are we that? And so on, you know? All of us, you know your life. You know what you're struggling with. You know what burdens your solar plexus. You know what makes you tick. You know the things that you want to happen, and you know the things that you don't want to happen. And if they're aligned with your spiritual purpose and your spiritual identity, if they're aligned with your understanding of how you serve God, then you just need to shut up. Because ask him what you need, tell him what you don't want, and then say amen. And then do what Moses told them. Guys, just be silent. Let God work now. Answering prayers is a work in progress. Always. Go ahead.
That was a comment I was going to make. That I think it's a lot easier said than done, because I think we got to practice patience. Because sometimes you pray for it and then it's not the right time, and then it takes a year, 2 years, right? So I think sometimes it's like you pray and a year doesn't sound a lot, like a long time, but it is. It's like, oh man, I prayed like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, oh, a month ago, oh man, it's been 6 months. So I think it's easier said than done, because we're human. So it's like you pray, nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. 12 months, or maybe 2 years, and you're like, okay, God's not listening. But obviously, you know, having faith and just keeping that mindset, it's like it's gonna happen, or maybe there's a lesson to be learned there. I think that's like just a comment that I want to make, that it's...
That's beautiful, that's perfect, thank you. Because yeah, here's the thing. All of us run on this time, on mountain time. God doesn't run on time. And then on top of it, all of us have a very, very horizontal, let's see, a narrow vision of what's going on, and a very linear vision. God has that spiritual bird view of your life, knowing where you're going to get if you take that route, you know, and You want to take that route, but is that going to really get you where you're going to fulfill your purpose, where you're really going to, at the end, say, this was so awesome? No, no, no. This is where you need to go, but that's a little bit ahead. But he's not patient. Okay, he's taking this route. Okay, let's see what we can do with that, and so on. So God is trying to work with us, but my point is we have to work with him as well. Not in a sense of being actively engaged, but in a sense of actively allowing him to answer the prayer. One thing that I started doing when I have a prayer, and it's easier, much easier said than done, absolutely true. I try, like what we talked about, the shredder and everything else. I also have a file cabinet in my head. It's like the place where I file away things that I don't want to think about. And after like a while, you practice this visualization, it actually works. Seriously, it works. Like I know it's there, but I'm not thinking about it. I'm not worrying about that right now because that's God's worry. I have like God's cabinet, in a way. Like, okay, these are the things, some things that I think are coming, some things that I'm dealing with. I just don't know. God, you know, here it is. And the coolest thing about that, for me at least, in my personal everyday life experience is this. It doesn't draw energy from me anymore, like this issue. It's filed away, it's left for God to handle, and I can focus at the task at hand. I was just crying to Sean, like we have this auditing preparations, and there instead of 2 years, there are 3 years. There's a lot of paperwork to kind of go through, match everything, confirm everything, so on. So it's repetitive, it's tiring, and it wears me out fast because this, I think if I had to do this for a living, I would just die. I just know, I'm not going to do this for a living. Just, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, but this, like, same thing, like I have things that I need to do, I file them away, and then a tunnel vision on this. And I actually achieved much more than I thought I would. I was planning like 3 weeks. I think it's going to take me 2 weeks to finish everything. But again, the whole concept is the way you approach to God after you said amen. God needs you to leave him alone so he can do things. How many times you say a prayer and then a week later you say something else? Yeah. And then he's like, okay. Yeah, okay, let's go back. Let's go back from zero. I started working on this one, but now they want this. Okay, let's work on this. And so on. Oh, he does. Yeah. No. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase. Maybe I didn't explain well. No, we have numerous prayers we're asking God. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like, Lord, I really, like this week, I really need to get a new car. Help me, come point me out, guide me to find a new car. And then Friday comes, you know what, never mind, I want a truck. Let's work on a truck actually. And then, okay, we start from scratch. That's what I meant. So we have like one prayer that we never kind of, bless you, that stick to, but it kind of.
Also, I think it's a little bit different dynamic sometimes. Hey God, I want to buy a new car, and then your manager comes, hey, you want to do overtime? No.
Okay, that's.
It's like, do you want to do are you going to do the hard work to get what you want, or are you going to keep praying and not doing it because it's not needed?
Okay, in this case, we're talking about apples and pears. No, you're good. No, I appreciate you sharing because it helps. And here's why. Because, like, for example, there is our horizontal engagement in life. That is all that you do throughout the week. And then there is our vertical engagement in life. That is all you do on your spiritual plane, connecting and working and figuring out your purpose and growing in your spiritual aspects so you can be more of service to God, to this world, and so on. And these two planes, they constantly overlap. It's perfectly normal. But the key thing is they are not, the horizontal plane of our living is not supposed to be in the way of the vertical one. That's why I'm saying, so like the concept over here. So I pray, nothing happens, okay, I got to do it on my own. No, you don't. You just have to stick to what you know is true. And that is that God heard the prayer, he devised a plan, he's working on it, say thank you. The difference in being in state of allowing is you literally create a spiritual environment where God is, okay, finally, let me do the job. If these guys didn't stop crying, I don't know how the story would end, you know? But obviously they're like, okay, let's be silent. And you guys know the rest of the story. So Moses, raise your hands. The Red Sea opens, they pass by, Egyptians get stuck, sea goes back, and the end of the episode, you know? But what you're praying for, your dead end, your whatever, as I said, it's stuck kind of in here and burdening you, there will be the other side of the Red Sea in your story as well. But then you have to remember and learn the lesson, you know, to get out of his way and allow him. Because it would be much less painful for them if they just embrace the fact, okay, God's going to figure it out. Imagine how much more excited are they going to be, like, to see the Red Sea opening. Like this, they're just freaked out. We are way too freaked out from horizontal life to allow the vertical to work. Does that make sense? Let me see what else I have on this topic before we go to the last one.
Have you seen an abused dog that tries to get pet for the first time and doesn't know how to accept kindness?
Yeah.
That's how.
There's one guy. Has a YouTube channel, and that's what he does. Like, he made a whole YouTube channel. He's going to the impounds, and he's trying to calm down freaked out dogs. And then he would, like, first he would sit in front of a kennel. You saw that? Yeah. Then he kind of opens the door. Yes, and he turns back, and then he slowly starts turning around. And it takes 20 minutes, half an hour, but eventually dog kind of starts. It's amazing, you know? But we are very often like that with God. Traumatized by life. Let's just do it on my own. So I encourage you, seriously. Silence before the Lord happens after you said amen. Thank him, knowing that he is guiding you. And this is another thing, not that obvious from this, but that's the thing that I learned. Go with the flow. See what the day brings you. And then ask yourself, okay, how is this tying in my prayer? And you'll be surprised actually how many things happen in your day that are actually tied in the flow that you requested from God. Instead of focusing on the final answer, focus at what are you in right now and see how this is guiding you. How this is actually first step into fulfillment of the prayer or whatever. It's awesome. It's so amazing. For me, it's so amazing when I started doing that, because I see God every day. Like, I see him answering prayers every day. And it's like, by the time I get to the point that the prayer is answered, I was in a state, yeah. Well, I knew it's happening. There was like, I wasn't like, yeah. No, it was like, yeah.
For that prayer, but a lot of times we also sabotage our own prayers. Like, we pray for something, but we go in the opposite direction of where that's leading us or what we actually want. So it's like not sitting in silence, so God's not fighting our fight, we're fighting God. So he's fighting us off, in a sense.
No, that's true. Because here's the thing, when I told you, kind of see what is in your day, at least how I do it. I would, like, observe my day and try to be in that state of presence and just see how it feels. Like, okay, this situation feels right. A lot of times God talks that way as well, at least for me lately, a lot. Like this, it seems crazy, it seems counterproductive, but this really feels right. And then 1, 2, 15, 54 times, It never fails. Like, I kid you not, it never fails. One thing that you kind of have to learn in the process is like discerning between it feels right and I really want this to feel right. You know? But here's the thing, another thing that God also taught me. When I'm in that state of presence, it's literally like a dagger in my brain. Like, no, that's what you want, be honest with yourself. And as long as I'm honest with myself, like seriously, like the things flow. And very often, I asked you yesterday to pray for me. Just for that reason, because I was in the middle of making a decision, but decision is crazy. It seems counterproductive. It seems that but everything that happened last 2 weeks pointed me that no, this is it. And I still have doubt in me. I still have like doubt that I need to kind of work on it and see is it my second guessing because it's a big thing, and then with small things you're kind of easier to juggle. With big things you always have that. Or is it actually a sign from him, like, hey, maybe you misread, whatever. But that's why I asked for a prayer, because it was really like it was distracting me and I needed to finish the freaking paperwork. But I'm really telling you, these are the rules of spiritual engagement that entangle us with the horizontal dimension of life. And the more clarity you have in your spiritual connection, the more flow you will see everywhere in life. When things go hard, you see the flow. And like, this is going to take somewhere. Let's see where this takes. When things go super easy, you see the flow. And you feel like, this is way too easy. I'm not sure if I should engage, and so on. But there is just that sense of a flow that God guides us with. And it's beautiful. It's so much easier. It's so much less nerve-wracking. And on top of it, it never fails. It really never fails. Like okay, maybe it's exaggeration to say never, because there's like that human error element. But in vast percentage of times, it was like spot on. Okay, let's wrap it up. We have 15 minutes. The last one we'll do. Silence is a result. Isaiah 26:3. Remember this verse. Underline it, highlight it in your Bibles. Copy it and save it. You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Define me perfect peace. How would you describe perfect peace?
Friday evening, house is clean, dishes are put away, all showered up, and you just have time to relax and the house is clean.
Now imagine that feeling throughout the whole week.
Dang.
Feels good. It feels really good, right?
He's like, I need problems. I need drama.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't want peace.
I
I
know.
want problems.
The idea over here that Isaiah presents is that Friday night peace is something that is promised to you as a state, not as a matter of circumstances, not as a matter of like social engagement, whatever. It's your internal state. And no matter the circumstances, the external circumstances are, no matter how crazy it is around you, Friday night state is constantly within you, keeping you balanced, keeping you focused, keeping your mind clear. That is what Isaiah promises over here. Imagine that state. I want to hear somebody else. Describe me your perfect peace. Except Sean's, it was really cool. I like it. I want to hear others.
I'm still working on it. But I just want to point out how it says whose mind is stayed on you.
We're going to get that.
Okay, I was going to say that the way that I've been kind of learning how back, and then me climbing that anxiety mountain, and I'm about to like go to the tower. I'm like, okay, I need to pray again. And every time I start getting my thoughts on God and talking, it does help me. Like, okay, go back, come back. So I'm learning. You know, I'm still.
We're going to talk about that right now, but I really want us to please somebody else. Come on, describe me perfect peace. How would you describe the perfect peace?
Well, for me, it was that. It's like when my mind finally comes down off of that storm. Like, it's okay.
When everything subsides.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm not like the anxious thoughts and all the craziness of it here. It's quiet. It's just okay. And then I can enjoy my morning. It's like I can feel being more present and in that moment.
Cool.
And it's quiet, like Sean said.
Imagine that throughout your whole week.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Working on paperwork with your dad with that piece. Yeah. That's how it feels. It feels so good. Just when you think about it, it feels so good. You know? Now, this is the beauty of it. Isaiah talks about attention. Isaiah talks about what your mind is not set on, but stayed on. Where is your attention? So let's do this. So all of you, look at the screen, and now put your hand in front of the screen. Just put your hand stretched out as far as you can, and see the screen through your fingers. Now, while you're reading the verse like that, how many fingers do you see? Huh? Yeah, the hand looks weird, right? But how many fingers do you see? It feels weird, right? Uh-huh. Okay. Stretched out. More. Yeah, the far when it's close here, but the farther it is. Uh-huh. Now do this. So put your hand on the side, still looking at the screen, and slowly move it into your field of view. But look at the screen and read the verse. And stop your hand in the moment when you can count your fingers while looking at the screen.
When do I start reading?
No, read it all the time. No, read this all the time. But I want you to move it, but stop your hand moving when you can count the fingers. But look at the screen. Don't look at the hand. Just look at the screen. You see, all of you, like, hand was right there in your face. You couldn't, like, when it was over here, like, you don't even, like, you can't even see. Try holding two fingers and put it at 45 degrees. But look at the screen. Can you guarantee that the two fingers are up? Huh? No, I'm talking about your vision. I'm talking about your visual. Can you see, can you guarantee that it's two fingers? Seriously? Okay. Okay, let's see this. Look at the screen. Just look at the screen and put your hand down. Okay, and tell me how many fingers do I have up? Just look at the screen.
4.
Nope.
2.
Nope.
3.
Uh-huh.
Ah.
But you see where my hand is?
Yeah.
Usually like, she can see like here.
But you, uh-huh. Motion but not clarity. Thank you very much. Now, we have this ability of a broad vision. And we have an ability of a focused vision. Now, when you observe your life from a broad vision, might be good, might be bad, might be ugly, but there are a lot of things on every one of your plates, right? A lot of things to juggle, a lot of things to figure out, a lot of things to deal with, and so on. And then when one thing, there is maybe like one really important thing, but you can't focus on it as long as you have this broad vision of everything that's happening. Now, the world changes, your reality literally changes when you change the focus of what you put the attention on. For as long as you looked at the screen, you were really not 100% sure about your hand. But the moment you put focus on your hand, you see it clearly, you see all the fingers, but try looking at your hand and reading the screen. Yeah, exactly. So the whole idea, this whole little experiment was for the purpose of understanding one thing. Isaiah says that the peace is a product of proper attention. And this Friday night, or like after the storm, calm morning feel, is something that is guaranteed to you if you properly engage in this spiritual interaction with God. God says, put your mind on me. God will give you this. This is not something that is like tit for tat. You just look at me. No. This is like the way things work. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat a croissant and I'm not hungry anymore. I'm going to eat 6 croissants and I'm sick. Okay, maybe not. 6 is not that much. Huh? 5 is the recommended number. This is the same thing. Like my mind is stayed on God's presence in my life, and the perfect peace seeps in. Now, what happens is this. This is a very good test for you guys. Do you have this Friday night peace throughout your week? Sometimes. Okay. All right. Why not at work? Okay, when you say, other people, that's special. Philip, you said sometimes. Why not all the time?
I feel like you said, that piece hypothetically is possible if your mindset is on the right thing, but a lot of your factors are playing.
Okay, now this is the, okay. Whoever.
So, also, too, like, having that external factor. I'm at work, I love being there. But it's like that sometimes when I come home, she has a rough day, we had a rough day, we're like, but it's like, okay, why are we like this? Because it's that external forces that I ignore at work a lot of times. But then it's like triggers or something, or if it's just like you've had noise all day, and then other stuff comes into play at home or whatever, and you're just like, ugh. So it's like that piece. But Friday, like, I don't work tomorrow, I don't this. It's just like, okay. It's like wake up early, super early, do this, deal with all this.
Now, imagine, so external factors, yeah, it's unavoidable to deal, all of us deal with them. But here's the question. Is it possible to maintain your work with eternal, to do everything that you do, but still at the same time that your mind is stayed on this presence of God in your life?
Very hard.
What makes it hard?
A lot of things. Trying to make everyone happy. Work, running around, stress, this, that, payroll, bills, material, workers, this, like.
All right. So it's the same thing as we talked about the attention. So you're trying to see God's presence in there, and work, materials, making people happy is right over here, gets in the focus, and God is out of the picture.
I still every morning try to read my Bible, but I think it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a overstimulation of all the things that are around you, or what it is.
Did I tell you guys?
We're hyperstimulated with everything. Social media, this, that, work, expectations of ourselves, all this
So, okay, it still matters. So you're switching focus, and there are different things to put the focus on, but all of the things that you mentioned are horizontal aspects.
Yeah.
None of them really are like a reason to get the vertical out of focus.
So when I was a wildlife, my world was falling apart, and I had drama with socially, drama with myself, and so many things were going on. And that morning, I decided to open up the Bible to Psalm 138, 7-8, and I decided to memorize this verse in the morning. And so I'm like reciting it throughout the day, and I was like, Lord, I'm gonna focus on you and nothing else. And I remember as I'm focusing, a song would pop up. That would be like, oh, Poppy song I haven't thought of in like 14 years. I'm like, why is this happening now? I'm like, wow, the distraction is unreal. And so then I would try and hit a song or start going back to that verse, and it's like back to back to back, kept doing that until like midway through work had its own things. Everything was like, again, really just so intense. And yet, regardless of all the chaos and the storm, I felt amazing. And it was kind of scary just how much peace I had. I was like, is this a thing? Am I okay?
Did they take some meds by mistake?
I know.
Oh, good.
It was very, very powerful. And I don't try to like get to that extent. I'm just like, that was something that I experienced, and God's like trying to lead me. This is possible. Peace is possible in the storms. Through my years of going through that and remembering that, I'm thankful to God that I have worked through it. Where like I had the situation with my dad on the 27th, the day before our anniversary, and as crazy it was, I allowed myself to be present in crying and feeling and experiencing, so that the next day I was able to be present with my husband and enjoy our anniversary without it dragging me behind. And my peace was then with my husband.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So I think that's, yes, like, you know, circumstances definitely do play in a role, but it doesn't have to, like, in spite of that, peace can still happen. In spite of stress, in spite of all the horrible things that are happening in our lives, my father, finances, prayers that I feel like have been completely left unanswered, and he's working on, even though I'm being patient, there can still be peace in the midst of all that.
This is something that you just described, and that aspect of peace that you were afraid of is something that I think all of us should strive for. Because you maybe feel okay right now, you know, because things are okay in life. But I can tell you one thing and most of you already have that experience. Things turn around on a dime. Like, things just go crazy, this or that, something happens, and like, it's very easy to lose the footing if it's not properly grounded in this vertical stance of mind stayed on God most of all. Because circumstances of life change all the time. We don't have control over them. We're just kind of part of it. We're trying to have control, but we essentially don't. The only real control we have is our inward control. And then there is another cool thing over here that he says. He says, you keep in perfect peace those whose mind is stayed on you. Why? Because he trusts in you. Now, let's put it this way. You guys trust me, right? Why? I knew that's going to come from them. I just knew it. Like that. Depending with what? Like, do you trust me with that trust fall? Yeah. Oh, I will let you bounce. Jeez. But all of you, even Karina, knows me for years. We don't know each other that well, but we know each other to an extent. We had some cool talks. Trust is something that does not happen inherently. Very seldom you run into a person that you connect to on a level where you can start trusting them from the get-go. Very seldom. In our experience, and if you have common sense, trust is something that is developed from a relationship. He whose mind is stayed on God has trust, because this is like a cycle over here on the screen. You trust God, and your mind is on Him, and He gives you peace. And that peace happens in practical ways. When a prayer comes through, when things go through and everybody thought they're going to fall apart, when crazy things happen and you're like, whoa, that's what builds trust. You know, in the same way as we built mistrust in some of the things, experience, you know? You know I would drop you. Like, I wouldn't even... Even from here, I'll probably drop you. Yeah. But that's how it works, guys. You can't have trust if you don't have experience with God. You can't have experience with God if you don't put your mind on Him so He can give you the experience. Otherwise, kind of with that focus. So, if your mind is not on how is God present in this situation right now, how is God present while I have to get those supplies right now, how is God present while I'm getting ready for the wedding right now, how is God present while my dad is in hospital right now, and so on, if that is not on your mind, then God does not have the doors open to interact. And then the whole life is just horizontal. That's it. Might go good, might go bad. But when your focus is on where is God right now in it, not in a sense of doubt, but in a sense of curiosity, in that moment, peace happens. Maybe not in that moment, but you keep doing it, peace is going to start building up. So I want to wrap up this whole series with the prayer of presence, and I challenge you, go back and kind of revisit the previous stuff that we talked about, is because what I've discovered for myself in this past 2 years is that these 3 hours that we spent talking about this are way long overdue. And this is actually this is the first step in discovering deeper spirituality. Mastering the prayer of presence. If you do that, you know what happens then? The flow just keeps going. You don't even try. The doors just start opening. And you see it, that is going in your favor and is amazing. But it starts here. With silencing yourself and just being in His presence, in that comfortable silence, knowing that He's got it.
Putting in my mind is with this whole thing of like being silent when we pray, like after we pray something and then we're silent, is I think is like learning to humble ourselves. And what I mean by that is like when we learn to humble ourselves, we'll learn to let go of the control that we are so desperately trying to hold on to. Because sometimes I think about like the Israelites, about how God literally took them out, and then when they were in a situation where they didn't know what to do, they wanted to go back to the abuse, to the trauma, to the bad, because that's what they knew. That's what they could control. Oh, I know how my day's going to look like. I know I'm going to be beat, but I know how to handle that. That's what I know. I can be somewhat in control of that. Instead of like the unknown, right? They didn't know what was going to happen. They had to put their trust and let go and humble themselves to trust God and say, okay, well, where are you going to take us? And I think a lot of us, like, that's why sometimes these prayers are really hard, because we just want to control and want things to happen the way we think they should happen, because the unknown is so terrifying. But if we can learn it, and this is something me personally that I recognized that I had to learn, and I think God really showed me, was that I needed to humble myself enough to be able to hear Him and to say, okay, the way I imagined or hoped. It's just, but it's going to happen, and it's going to be even better than I could imagine when I allowed myself to say, okay, it's going to be your way and not my way. And I think part of that is like also praying and asking God to help us see those things in our heart. And there's this really beautiful prayer that I heard this one pastor teach about, prayer of like de-weeding our hearts. So de-weeding meaning like taking out the fear, taking out the control, taking out, I don't know, like the distrust. And so it's like, whatever it is that it's in your heart, because every person's different, right? I knew for me, a lot of it was fear and control. I'm a very, like, I want to control everything because I'm so anxious. But I've learned that that's only held me back. And so I think if we can learn to allow God to show us, like, what it is that we need to, like, what block it is that we need to remove, I think we'll be able to see all of the beautiful things that He's already been doing. But I think we're blind to them because it's hard to see if you just are, like what you said, like focused on what you want. It's like sometimes like when like with Rafa teaches me a lot about the relationship that God has with us. Because I love Rafa. I want so many good things for Rafa. Sometimes I see that little kid and he's stubborn and he wants to do it his way, and it has to, the other day we were folding a little plane and this kid was getting mad because a little rip. He's like, it has to be perfect. It has to be this. And I was like, dude, it's okay. It's still going to fly. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I was like, man, how often are us humans exactly like that? It has to be my way. It has to be how. And he was getting crying and he was frustrated. And I'm there trying to be calm, trying to be the adult. And I was like, puppy, it's going to be okay. But even I was getting a little frustrated with him because I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to make it easy for you. It's not that big of a thing. So it's like, wow, okay, God, I see what you're trying to tell me. Is learning to, God is helping you, but you're not going to see that help if you're so focused on it has to be my way. So
Thank you for sharing. And here's one cool hint that you'll discover very soon in your life. The more you practice allowing, the more the timelines match. So, and it really, I see that in my life now in several instances. Like before, I had that attitude, like I'm asking, and whenever it happens, it happens. But now, like, I have a clarity of what am I supposed to ask. And I ask for it, and things really, like, happen the way that I envisioned them. And I realize it's not that God is bending to my will. It's actually me finally syncing my mind with His will. I am finally asking the right things at the right time. And like just a year ago, I was like, Rafa, seriously, with God. I was throwing fits. I was struggling. I was, maybe not a year ago, but let's say a year and a half ago. But seriously, that you learn to allow, a whole new universe opens. Or you can do the same old and be safe, hopefully. All right. Let's have prayer, and let's move on to this day and try to practice these things. Dear Lord, thank you for being so patient, so kind, so loving with us, trying to point us in the right direction, guide us, and open the doors so we can enjoy life. We can see the beauty of you actually having it all in your hands and allowing you to guide us as we go through life so things go not just for our benefit, but things go for the blessings of people around us and for your glory. Because that's what really counts. That's the whole point. That's where the big things happen. The small things happen for our benefit, but the big things happen for your glory. So today, help us see where you are. Help us see where you're taking us. Help us see how are you part of this evening that is coming. Help us have clarity of your presence and your engagement in in everything we do, so we can really, really fulfill our purpose and have a full lived life. Amen.
You're teaching me with my imperfections, reaching me when I run the other direction. I'm undone, unraveling my plans. Make me whole again, rebuild me from the